The Pittsburgh Pirates take on the New York Mets, 1:10 Eastern start time in Flushing, Queens. Now, this game's currently off the board. We got Chase DeYoung for the Pirates, no confirmed starter yet for New York. But regardless of who tosses out the first pitch for New York, the first place Mets are playing their best baseball at home. They're 28-13 straight up at Citi Field, and they lead the league in fewest runs allowed per game. The Mets are allowing just 2.3 runs per contest on their home field, and they're holding their opponents to less than 5.6 hits a game at home as well. They're taking on a last-place Pirates club who has the second fewest wins in all of the National League. Pittsburgh's 23 games below 500, and they're dead last in scoring. Pittsburgh also plays their worst baseball on the road, winners of just 14 out of 38 games away from their home field. Chase DeYoung comes into today's start with a 1-3 record and a 5.08 ERA. He also has a 1.54 WHIP. I'm going to lean toward the New York Mets winning this one outright for some money line cash. Next ball game, Phillies, Red Sox, 1:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Boston Red Sox are minus 115 with a total at 9.5 runs. Nick Pivetta for the Bo Sox, Aaron Nola for the Fightins. Nola comes into today's contest with a 4.53 ERA. The Phillies have also lost 5 out of their last 7 interleague games on the road. Meanwhile, overall for the season, Philadelphia is just 19-28 straight up when they travel, and they're in the bottom 10 in hits allowed away from home. They're taking on a first-place Boston club on the other side, who's 20 games above 500, and they also rank in the top 3 in hits. Xander Bogaerts is in the top 5 in the league in batting average. The shortstop is hitting .322 with 50 RBI. Meanwhile, Rafael Devers is in the top 10 in both homers and RBI himself. The third baseman has hit 22 home runs and knocked in 72. This Boston club is in the top 5 in scoring on average per game. They also have Nick Pivetta on the mound, who's 7-3 with 109 strikeouts. Now, total-wise, 3 out of Boston's last 4 home games got over the number. Phillies 6-0 to the over in their last 6 away from home. I'm going to lean toward the Boston Red Sox minus 115 in the over 9.5. Next matchup, Yankees versus the Astros, 2:10 p.m. East. Houston's minus 140, totals 8.5, juice to the over. Framber Valdez for Houston, Jameson Taillon for New York. Now, Taillon's just 4-4 on the season, 5.05 ERA and a 1.30 WHIP. The Yankees are in the bottom 10 in scoring, bottom 10 in strikeouts at the plate. They're taking on a first-place Houston club who won 6 out of their last 9 themselves, despite their recent skid. The Astros are also leading the majors in both runs and hits. Michael Brantley's in the top 5 in the majors in batting average. The outfielder is hitting .324 along with 132 total bases. Meanwhile, Yordan Alvarez is in the top 20 in batting average, RBI, and OPS. The slugger is hitting .299 with 56 ribbies and a .903 OPS. Houston's in the top 5 in the majors in fewest hits allowed. Now, Framber Valdez is 5-1 on the season, .286 ERA and a 1.17 WHIP. When it comes to the number in this one, Houston went 70% to the under in their last 10 outings, 5-1 to the under in their last 6 at home. Meanwhile, the Yankees saw 3 out of their last 5 road games stay under the line themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Houston Astros minus 140 and the under 8.5. Next ball game, Tigers, Twins, 2:10 p.m. Eastern start time. The Minnesota Twins are minus 230, numbers 8.5. Jose Barrios for Minnesota, Willie Peralta for Detroit. Peralta comes into today's contest with a 2-1 record and a 2.14 ERA. The righty's also got himself a .86 WHIP. The Tigers are in the top 10 in fewest walks allowed on the road. They're taking on a Twins club who's a dozen games below 500 and has a losing record in divisional play. And despite the recent success of Jose Barrios, Minnesota's in the bottom 3 in runs allowed, bottom 5 in hits allowed. When it comes to the total in this one, the Twins are 12-6 to the over against the AL Central at home. They're also 28-18 to the over as the home team. Meanwhile, the Tigers went 80% to the over in their last 10 themselves, 5-2 to the over in their last 7 road games. I'm going to lean toward the Detroit Tigers plus 1.5 and the over 8.5 runs. Next contest, Reds versus the Brewers, 2:10 p.m. Eastern first pitch. The Milwaukee Brewers are minus 160, total 7. Brandon Woodruff for Milwaukee, Luis Castillo for Cincinnati. Castillo's 3-10 on this season, 4.81 ERA and a 1.40 WHIP. And despite their current heater, Cincinnati's in the bottom 10 in the league in runs allowed. They're also walking 4.1 batters a game. Now, Cincinnati's taking on a Milwaukee club who's 25-17 against the National League at home. The Brewers also lead the majors in striking batters out. They're allowing just 6.9 hits a game as well. Brandon Woodruff is 7-4 with a 2.10 ERA and a .78 WHIP. The righties also struck out 125 batters in just over 107 innings. Now, total-wise, Milwaukee went 60% to the under in their last 10 outings, 3-0 to the under in their last 3 at home. Meanwhile, the Reds are 9-1 to the under in their last 10 ball games themselves, 5-1 to the under in their last 6. I'm going to lean toward the Milwaukee Brewers minus 160 in the under 7 runs. Next matchup, Cardinals Cubs, 2:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The St. Louis Cardinals are minus 115, total 7 juice to the over. Adam Wainwright for St. Louis, Trevor Williams for Chicago. Williams comes into today's contest with a 5.51 ERA and a 1.63 WHIP. The Cubs lost 8 out of their last 10 ball games, bottom 5 in the league in hits on average per contest. Chicago's also averaging nearly double-digit strikeouts a game at the plate. They're taking on a St. Louis club who's playing .500 baseball against divisional opponents on the road. This Cardinals pitching staff is in the bottom 10 in hits allowed away from home as well. Now, Adam Wainwright is 7-5 on this season, 3.58 ERA and a 1.15 WHIP. The righties also fanned 99 batters in just over 105 innings of work. When it comes to the number in this one, St. Louis is 9-5 to the over in their divisional games when they travel. I'm going to lean toward the St. Louis Cardinals minus 115 in the over 7 runs. Next ball game, A's versus the Rangers, 2:35 Eastern start time. The Oakland A's are minus 140, totals 8.5. Chris Bassett for Oakland, Colby Allard for Texas. Despite Allard's record, he's pitched pretty well this year. He comes into today's contest with a 3.45 ERA and a 1.10 WHIP. The Rangers also won 2 out of their last 4, and that includes a victory over Oakland. The Rangers have a winning home record against divisional opponents as well. Saw that today, thought that was pretty alarming. Definitely surprising there, but that's the deal. That's what's going on. They're in the top 10 in fewest walks allowed at home. They're taking on an Oakland club who's lost 6 out of their last 9, and they actually rank in the bottom 10 in hits. Meanwhile, defensively, as good as Chris Bassett's been, the A's are in the bottom 10 in hits allowed per game. Now, total-wise, Oakland went 60% to the under in their last 10 ball games, 3-2 to the under in their last 5 at home. I'm going to lean toward the Texas Rangers plus 1.5 in the under 8.5 runs. Next ball game, Nationals Giants, 4:05 East. The San Francisco Giants are minus 205 with the total at 8 juice to the over. Kevin Gausman for San Francisco, Eric Fetty for the Nationals. Now, Fetty's just 4-5 on the year, 4.53 ERA, and a 1.29 WHIP. The Nationals are on a 3-game winless streak, losers of 8 out of their last 10 as well. Washington also plays their worst baseball on the road, winners of just 18 out of 42 away from their home field. Now, this Washington pitching staff is in the bottom 10 in runs allowed on the road, and in addition to that, they're taking on a first-place Giants club who plays really tough at Oracle Park. The Giants are 29-13 on their home field, and they're currently leading the majors in fewest walks allowed per game. San Francisco gives up only 3.6 runs per contest, and Kevin Gausman, he's been really good this season, 8-3 record with a 1.74 ERA and a .80 whip. The righties also fanned 124 batters in just over 108 innings. Now, total-wise, oddly enough, 3 out of San Francisco's last 5 home games did get over the line. Meanwhile, the Nats saw 5 out of their last 6 road games get over the number themselves. I'm going to lean toward the San Francisco Giants -1.5 and the over 8 runs. And guys, we got to move here real quick because we're actually, the 1 o'clock games are beginning to start. So we're going to kind of rapid fire these next couple of games here. But anyway, next matchup, it is going to be Angels versus the Mariners, 4:10 p.m. East. The Mariners are -115, totals 9. Hector Santiago for Seattle, Jose Suarez for Los Angeles. I'm going to lean toward the Mariners, -115 and the under 9 runs. Next matchup, Rockies, Padres, 4:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The San Diego Padres are -180, numbers 8.5. Ryan Weathers for San Diego, John Gray for Colorado. Give me the San Diego Padres -1.5 and the under 8.5 runs. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup. It is going to be D-backs versus the Dodgers, 4:10 p.m. Eastern first pitch. The LA Dodgers are -240, numbers 9. Tony Gonsolin for Los Angeles, Merrill Kelly for Arizona. Give me the LA Dodgers -1.5 and the over 9 runs. And with that, guys, now it's time for our quick pick recap, powered to you by my Patreon website. I like the New York Mets winning their game outright for some money line cash. I also like Boston -115, over 9.5 runs. Houston -140, under 8 and a hook. Detroit +1.5, over 8.5 runs. Milwaukee -160, under 7. St. Louis -115, over 7 runs. Texas Texas +1.5, under 8.5 runs. San Francisco -1.5 and the over 8. Seattle -115, under 9 runs. San Diego -1.5, under 8 and a hook. And before I give you my next and final free pick for the video, one final reminder that we are 3-0 in our last 3 underdog tier package picks on my Patreon website. We're also 5-2 in our last 7 underdog tier package picks in that very same category. Give me the LA Dodgers -1.5 and the over 9 runs. So with that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on Patreon. Now, if you guys do end up getting a membership here today on my Patreon website, as I always tell you in pretty much every video, just keep in mind Patreon's going to bill you the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. So if you do end up getting a membership here today, you're going to get access to that content all the way through the end of July. So as always, the earlier in the month you sign up, the better. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, happy Sunday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.